will be able to take this series, as Shenandoah did just lose a reverse sweep. So can the A team bring it back?
Yeah, it'll be certainly interesting to see if Randolph-Macon can bring this one back. Once again, my name is Speedlemon, and I am joined by the all-knowing Intel. My God, this man! Can we get some pogs in chat for this man's commentary in this last game? Because he has been. It's been a hot minute since I casted it, and he has been carrying my sorry ass through all of it.
I'd say no, because I'm pretty sure I just said Rudolph, which is very. Which is now coming into my mind that I may have just said that, which is
Rudolph the Red-Nosed Macon?
That's what I'd like to think. Although it is more inside of the spooky times, although even if some people are already celebrating Christmas, because that's how some people are just crazy to work. We are going to give a quick pause, but we do get an idea of their compositions because you may not see them, but we do. One side, we're looking at a Wrecking Ball comp. That is on the defensive side. I have never seen a Wrecking Ball composition being used on the Ike Vault for defense, and that's mostly because it's more interesting to see how you try to move. And it's obviously going to be Shenandoah. Well, not obviously. It took me a second to realize, but Shenandoah running this comp, and it's going to be very difficult. The Wrecking Ball composition in itself takes a lot of skill and effort to be able to pull off correctly in a normal sense, but running out on defense with it and a point to where there's so much natural cover and it's very hard for your supports to kind of set up and be defensive against such a brawly opposition. What are you going to do? You basically look like cuckoo brains trying to run out on this, knowing that Enders can only do so much to be able to protect the Zenyatta.
Cuckoo brains, very technical term. I think, yeah, that's certainly how I would describe it in a PG way. As we were talking about during the break. But now we got Daddy Kong coming out here on that Tracer. I don't think we haven't seen much Tracers yet today, although picking a very bad time to play it going up against a Torbjorn. That's like weirdly a very good counter to this hero. You know, it'd be like that sometimes.
Already moving out, they're able to get this tick, but look, we see they're struggling just to find anything out of this.
Yeah, and now we've already seen more of this map than we did in the last game, so I'm already excited about that. I love, like I said, I love Eichenwald, so I'm very happy that we're going to see more than just the first tick of point A.
That was absolutely disappointing. I don't know if we caught that, but King Kong getting shot directly in the face as they were trying to kind of clean up the fight, and now they're going to be struggling to move forward. The Wrecking Ball composition, it seems they are going to be struggling to move forward, and I do like the fact that this Torbjorn is running out. It's so good against the Wrecking Ball competition, so good with the poke. The Mind's being trying to do much, and Sound Barrier is going to sustain them.
As I've been made aware of, this is Creonto, the world-famous one-trick Torb. Or at least the tournament-famous one-trick Torb. the Mid-Atlantic Esports Conference famous one-trick Torb. Creonto.
That's a bit more unfortunate. Though, luckily enough, because of the fact that they're moving on to the second point, Streets phase, they don't have control of high ground, which is giving Void enough room to be able to hit these shots really uncontested, managing to find out both the DPSs and looking to take out the supports. There's really no worry. You're not seeing them even try to rotate to the castles. Rather, they want to be staying down. They want to try and go as 6, which is that issue. Because now Dragon coming back is going to have that slam. They have that bomb. They have an ult combination right now.
Well, Torbjorn's side, I think it's more of a 5.5, but, you know, however you want to define it, they do, like you were saying, they do have a lot of ults to work with going into this next fight, and not a lot for Shenandoah's A team.
Already, look at this, an amazing pushment, but the Mind is what shuts them down. There's not much you can do against it because you just walk into that ult fest, and I think you're more feeling happy that they got to get it out their system, especially because Sensendo still has that Molten Core. Molten Core by far is the best ability when it comes to going against their comp. If you can deny anything, space and mobility is the one you want to be able to do.
I feel like Molten Core is actually a very underrated ultimate. A lot of people sleep on it, but it's one of the best zoning ultimates. Simply, like, along with the mines, just because it just creates a no-go zone where you just die if you walk into it. Combine that with the Deadeye and maybe a Diva Bomb, and they're just going to be, like, scattering.
Now when trying to go into this, that pulse bomb takes a crescendo, and that's got to hurt. The Wrecking Ball composition is finally being able to thrive with so much space.
Yeah, they got to be getting a little bit of revenge now for the very quick cap on that first point. Still 3 minutes in the time bank, though, for Randolph-Macon, who I'm really hoping we have a shorter name for. But I will say, you know, they haven't been, like, blowing their ultimates. They have a pretty good ult bank saved up here. So even when they're losing these team fights, they aren't just carelessly throwing out their ultimates. That being said, you know, if they could win a team fight using some of those ultimates, that would be preferable to just sitting on them.
They're going to take it now, using this Transcendence to try to play against it. That bomb's not going to get much, as we already see the Reinhardt being able to walk in. Crescendo wants to be able to push that point. However, the rest of the team, they're fighting on this high ground. There is not much you can do. The Wrecking Ball composition does not thrive in this type of environment. Even if the Torbjorn can't take out the baby Diva really fast, they still have more than enough room to be able to come back and push the payload.
You know, I'm a little disappointed. There was an opportunity there. They were throwing out the punches rather than the hammer, and I really feel like we could have gotten a hammer kill there.
Oh, 10 billion%. There was so much opportunity to be able to do it. But, you know, I guess to one to each their own. Though moving into the Streets phase, it's going to be harder for the Wrecking Ball composition to kind of make their space, especially since everything is now more narrow and forward, though the Zenyatta is perfectly safe inside their own back.
Well, you say that they're safe until they get caught in the head with a stray Torbjorn. Can we call those bullets metal scraps?
Pellets.
What is his ammo?
Like pellets. Look at that.
Pellets.
Already moving in, and the Brigitte just being able to perfectly defend. Using that rally is going to be able to help move forward, though. Crescendo has that Moan Core if they choose to want to try and stall this out. It just seems that their Brawl is able to take the full advantage, even using that bomb, stopping them from being to immediately touch this point. The Sound Barrier does manage to sustain, while the Transcendence wants to try to be able to sustain the entirety of their side, but it's not looking great. They're not getting any picks. The spawn point may be in their advantage, but it's not until they get chained that they are now looking a tiny bit more favorable. They are lowering down this time by an aggressive amount, but it's just not enough when you're not getting consistent amount of picks.
Yeah, now, are we going to see some swaps here? I mean, we're still defending on this last point with the Wrecking Ball, and yeah, there's some room for him to move here, but it's still very awkward, and, you know, you bump into one stray wall or a sconce or one of the other random things hanging up in this cathedral, and suddenly you aren't moving.
Although it seems the Moan Core Shatter combination is more than enough to find out King Kong. Now the rest of the team stuck inside their own spawn room is going to struggle to move out. It's going basically into a room of coke, and especially with that window now out, Dragon can only really be a bullet sponge at this moment, and it's very depressing as we see them using that bomb to be able to not only take out the immortality, but the turret. They now move forward, getting the majority of these values, especially with Wart not being gone. The High Noon needs to be able to find good value. Though it just barely misses out on the Baptiste, the rest of their team are going to eventually move on, using that Sound Barrier just as sustain. The Lucio being the last kind of stand for a hold. No one else wants to be able to touch, though they are rotating perfectly. Dragon's now going to be returning to the fight, looking to make something happen. That bomb going up high, though it is going to be blocked, not finding much. Breaks that shield, which is more than enough, because Dragon now has to play behind this payload, but it does not look like it's going to be going inside their favor. They're now down 2, down to 3, and the mech no longer.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was looking pretty bad for Poppy there, and McCree just kind of waltzed up on him and just gets smacked in the face. I mean, they had a great opportunity to finish off the map there, and they had a really strong first point and a push to the end of the third point, but it just got stalled out there. The spawn advantage coming out from Shenandoah is just cannot be understated how absolutely massive it is. And with as good as Dragon Blade has been so far, from what we've seen at least on this Reinhardt, it kind of makes you wonder why we haven't been seeing it the entire map.
Yeah, I would say I agree. That Shatter is going to come out. It does miss out. Unfortunately enough, they already had taken 2 out. Now the Molten Core wants to be able to make a difference. It's trying to find them out, but the issue is that it's really only working if they were pushing in. But they've already pulled out Shenandoah. Well, they're going to be able to fully hold this onto the third point, stopping Heel's bad man from touching the point. That's more of a feels bad man moment.
Yeah, it certainly was. And, you know, I think the biggest reason that Shattered missed, I think he got booped by the Lucio there. So that little hammer swing at the very end to finish him off, I guess you could call that just a bit of revenge, maybe?
A good sense, I would say so. A possible revenge in a good area. But they pushed that much farther than I expected, even forcing that Wrecking Ball composition off. Now this is where I see it starting to thrive.
Yeah, and it should be interesting to see. I'm still shocked that they weren't able to finish this map after seeing just them dominate on that first point. But I suppose, you know, sometimes, you know, you need to just give up that little bit of space so that your team's comp can get the momentum that they need.
You really gotta think.
Yeah, that creates the argument, though. Do you play a comp that's better suited to the first point and then switch off? Or do you risk it, play the weaker comp on the first point, and hope that by the time that... Hope you're able to whittle off a bit of time and build up some ults before you inevitably lose the point.
Yeah, you know, it works either way. It seems that they do want to walk out on the Wrecking Ball comp, which is very good on attack. I'll definitely say that, though. Crescendo on the tour, being the tour one trick they are. Full respects, by the way, and love. It's going to be hard to try to break through, especially because that Pharah has to basically have enders on them 24/7.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can joke about someone being a Torb one trick, but Kree has been hitting some crazy shots without the assistance of the turret. However, you know, Daddy Kong here is looking to just kind of shut them out with the Pharah, and they did a pretty good job destroying the turret about 2 seconds after the round started. And now they're just firing on in, almost uncontested.
They put in that burst damage, which is more than enough to put out the vast majority of their opponents. Now Shenandoah, they really have nothing truly to worry about, as the Pharah is going to be uncontested, standing in the air and helping to take them out. That was a very beautiful first push, as not only did they allow King Kong to be able to go inside the backline, but Dragon is making sure to boot them around. There's not much you can do against it besides try to figure out an adapt. That's why you see them moving over to more of a rushed out comp. They want to try to just ignore the Pharah flat out, but that may become in vain.
With the exception of the Zenyatta here, Shenandoah, it's like a pack of, just like a swarm of mosquitoes, just kind of coming in from every direction. There's just a crazy amount of mobility here between all of these heroes, and Void eventually going to fall to Heel's bad man. He might heal bad, but he can certainly damage just fine. And, you know, they'll slow down the push a little bit, but they're right next to their spawn still, so it won't be an issue. And Barrage on the line for Kong. This has the potential to be a short fight, though. Traditionally, we don't usually see Barrages getting much value.
Well, here's the thing. They've lost their Zenyatta, so now I don't really expect them to try to go into this fight. They do manage to bring it out, plop down. They're trying to set up for this Barrage, using it to take out Crescendo.
Okay, all right.
Look at that. Cassidy's not going to be able to escape, and now they are completely split off. The Baptiste Diva putting some damage into King Kong, though the split is there. While the turret is able to kind of keep King Kong's attention, kind of split them off, the Wrecking Ball composition comes back amazingly fast. Though this is no longer kind of in their favor, they force at least a rotation out. There's no longer any high ground control, and now they have to try to kind of push in against a composition that thrives off of being able to play on the high ground.
And very much so. And can we just give it up to the resource management of Poppy? He's hanging on to his concussion rocket just for when Diva dives. Like, normally you'll see Pharahs use it to stay in the air longer, but they aren't doing that. They're just waiting and using it to deal with the Diva as they get dove.
It was an absolutely amazing play coming out of Sacred, being able to hit that 2K and basically help secure them to be able to move forward. Though, now moving out into this open streets phase, I wonder what type of scenario you do. You have a bunch of ultimates on their side. They can definitely bring this back or try to Molten Core, High Noon. There's a lot of opportunities to be able to win this off. I definitely think Mao can have the room, but they managed to take out the High Noon mid-flight. The Transcendence coming in just to put in some peel while the Barrage finishes finishes off the tiny piglets trying to beat off the wolf. But look at that, there's just not much you can do. You don't even get the boop onto the wrecking ball. They managed to get the capture onto the point instead. And with around maybe 5 minutes, no, 4 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock, all they have to do is capture third. That's what matters.
Well, they did kind of get the boop onto the wrecking ball. It was just a very delayed boop.
Face, okay?
My goodness, though, I think Farah heard me when I was slandering the barrage and just got the 3K in anger. But now Creep manages to find 2 with a molten core off the back of a shatter. Oh, that's big, and that is going to just create just some instant stabilization here. But with 4 minutes on the clock, this is gonna have to be quite a hold.
No one ever expects the Spanish Inquisition. That's what I like to say. They were just able to walk out, hit that shatter, and the molten core manages to clean it up. Now it just matters to see how you try to engage in these fights. That's what's going to matter the most. We already see them moving in. They have the junk prep, but that bomb goes onto the opposite side, goes out, doesn't find much, and they end up losing 2 people in that mid-fight. Though with the pick onto Dragon, this may almost go in vain because now they've lost their own take. The rest of their team want to try and push out. They need to move back, especially if they want to have good respawns to be able to recontest in the next push. They're gonna have to stop what they're doing right now, which is immense stagger. The bombs even can invest it just to find out anyone, and they're using the window to try to LOS, but there's not much doing. Shenandoah A able to take out King Kong, putting this fight back into their area, and now we see, look at this, beautiful rotation coming out. They're not even going to give them a chance to try to stagger themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking pretty hopeless there, and there was a lot invested just to regain their footing, but they were able to do it, and now they're in a pretty good spot. Once again, they've gotten a couple ultimates back. Heals Bad has gotten his sound barrier. We're going to have another Molten Core in play. We're going to have an attack visor. Granted, you're going up against the Riptire, which is, it either does nothing or it just wins the fight immediately, and there is, like, no in-between with that.
Yeah, but now you have to worry about the Riptire, which is able to take out your main tank. That leaves them open to the Shatter. The Lucio gonna be hit, not gonna have any follow-up, and the Molten Core is gonna slow it down, though the Immortality manages to keep them up. Now they feel fine. Enders has a sound barrier. They can choose to push in whenever they want, but they're taking their time. They basically are feeling happy in a good sense. Now with this visor being there, they pop the sound barrier using the High Noon as a combination, breaking down Doctor's shield and managing to stun out Super Hulk. There is nothing that they can do. This payload continues going to be pushed. They use this window to kind of counter out, pumping that extra damage and healing just to make any torn of kind of damage in. But this is still a very messy fight. Though that Shatter gets blocked off. Don't know where it landed, but it did not land where it needed to. They're struggling to move forward as we see the rest of their side just kind of struggling to keep that synergy. This is more now of a stall fight, trying to build up and maybe get this bomb out to be able to bring in some victory while they pop it on directly onto the point. We're seeing Dragon able to get that 2K move in. The counter bomb from Sacred going to be able to find out he was Badman, and now the Wrecking Ball really being the last one who's trying to be able to touch his point is going to be able to struggle and not be able to do much, as we see the Diva, the last true person who can stall, is going to be found out, and no one else can help, as we see the beautiful team managing to take the victory.
You good? you running the marathon there, man. Whew. Take a breather, get some water. And meanwhile, they're going to need to take a breather after this massive 3K barrage replay. You love to see it. I love the play of I love seeing the play of the games. Just because, especially when it's something ridiculous like that. The 3K with the assist, I think, onto an Immortality field, actually, in there. And Shenandoah, second verse, same as the first, up 1 in the beginning, although was a lot closer than our first game was on Eichenwald.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of mucus kind of came in my throat at the last second. I'm fighting off a cold, so a lot of it kind of went over me, and so it started to strangle me while I was talking, but I couldn't stop. It was such an intense and close fight, and it really could have gone anyway, as if one side could get more ultimate. So as my voice is clearing up, as you can hear, I'm more interested to see how things work on Busan. We got to talk about it a lot before, so
yeah. I mean, we're both play-by-play guys. If you're ever dying, just like you can stop. It's just like, tag out.
Yeah, I'm still fighting off a cold, so there's still like a lot of good like mucus in my throat for some reason, trying to drown me from the inside. But I'm more interested to see how this is going.
That's the most metal way of saying I have drainage that I've ever heard.
I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah, if you have mucus going down your throat, it's called drainage.
Oh, okay, it keeps coming
Because it's
back
your
up.
sinuses draining into your throat.
It's like my ex-wife coming back to me, all right? It's dangerous. Still, though, look at this. The Wrecking Ball competition walking out. We saw it similar to what happened before on their counter team. So it's more interesting to see how Shenandoah want to be able to play this. We saw their counterparts struggle a lot on this, especially now with Crescendo going onto this gun with the Torbjorn. Torbjorn's just so good against this. I'm wondering how they want to try and play against it.
Well, I mean, they found a way in the last map. It took them a little minute to get their footing on it, but we'll see if they're able to do it again. And now Void on the sniper. Gonna get very low thanks to some just absolutely crazy precision coming out from the Lucio.
Yep.
However, they need just one shot to get a kill.
That was so intense. We were both scared to see Void try to take someone out, but it seems that Heels Badman's going to be the one who favored. They are still being able to boot while the Reinhardt is touching onto the point. However, the main issue turns into that the rest of your team is now split. You do get the capture on the benefit, and King Kong's not going to be able to take over your backline. And now it seems that the rest of your team is now moving in, which is the best part you could have ever hoped for. If they had lost their Reinhardt very early, or the rest of their team, this would have been over. But they're able to just move forward and feel confident in it.
Yeah, Void's going to manage to find Shine there, but that's really the only solace for the team. It was a pretty one-sided affair there in terms of the kills. You know, you don't usually see a sniper Lucio coming out to play, but Heels Badman just is out for blood and is actually going to force Void to switch over to the Hanzo, which I think generally is just a better pick these days anyway. The days of Widow being the best DPS in the game are behind us.
Widow is by far the best hit scan because hit scans aren't good anymore. But even then, we see Dragon being taken out by the D.Va. Now they're going to be struggling to move in. That pulse bomb's going to hit the immortality, so it really doesn't even get much room to kind of find anyone out. Now we see Shen just kind of struggle in while Heels Badman goes into their flank. The Reddit Lucio works in a good sense, but they can't really even push in. They look more scared to do anything than anything.
Yeah, it's an awkward situation because they don't have, I mean, they have a couple ultimates built up with, but not a lot, and they aren't able to get any value out of it. Sacred going to get shut down immediately. Void will get a kill onto Heels Badman, a little bit of revenge for earlier, but Dr. Water finds Enders, so it's really just not been going in their favor. Void finds a second kill, though. Are they able to make anything happen off of this? Not when his health is that low, and they're being pressured 80% on the board now for Randolph-Macon, and it's just nothing happening for Shenandoah on Sanctuary. Shenandoah on Sanctuary, both their A and their B team, not looking too hot. But
yeah, now this is becoming a bigger issue, though. The Transcendence does kind of counterplay when it came to Crescendo's Molten Core, but they've lost a mass majority of their team. Without their main healer, they're not really getting much out of it. So it does seem that Shenandoah are going to be able to bring this back. They're going to be able to get that recapture and have a chance to kind of hold this fight longer, but the Wrecking Ball composition does not work well when being put against this kind of wall. They have to start playing a lot more aggressively and a lot more engagements.
Yeah, I mean, also, can we just talk about, for a second, I mean, how long it took them to get that capture, and now we're expecting them to full hold after taking that long to win a single fight. It's certainly not looking great. Oh, and Heels Badman is playing the aggro Lucio and manages to take out your DPS time and time again.
I definitely have to agree. Already, look, Crescendo's turret's gone. They do manage to find out, too. The Brawl's working in their favor as they immediately rush in, though losing that Baptiste is going to be an issue. As long as you stall this out, you'll be able to bring it back. But the bomb lands down, manages to find out Crescendant, and now the point slowly starts to get recaptured. The Mines does split them up. That's a major benefit, while Void and the Wrecking Ball Dragon are just kind of playing around. But Shane is coming back onto the board, meaning he's going to get back a lot faster. He's going to be able to supply a lot more healing than the Baptiste, and now they're going to be able to push. Though it still seems that they are being able to out-poke them and out-damage them to where those respawns don't even matter. They can do their best, and they can try to pick you off as much as you want, but the Wrecking Ball competition still has two ultimates that are on this point. Well, one ultimate that's now on the point, as we see the Sigma being able to eat a majority of the damage, and the Torb turret just not going to be able to find much. Sure, they find out Enters using the sound barrier to move forward, but now the Gravitic Flux is going to be able to hit your Soldier 76, who is coming up on their ultimate, and now Kong comes back with the Visor, going into your team, trying to find them out. Sure, your Sigma is only one health, getting hit in the face, and you're trying to move in, but those dragons will split you up. However, there's just not many people that can really touch that point and make a difference when it comes to it. They're looking to just try to find any type of pick or value out of it, but the wrecking ball composition needs time to set up to be able to take this out. With Crescendos using this molten core all around the point, you have now have a slippery touch the lava and you are dead. And especially with this visor now being used by Angry Screech, you have to just get off the point. What do you even do? You somehow still being able to touch it and stall it out is more impressive than anything. But if you get off for a second, it's not going to go in your favor anymore. We're already seeing them panic as they use the Transcendence just to be able to stall when they don't get hit with damage. Finding out Crescendos is what matters the most, though that Shatter is going to be able to hit and take out King Kong and Sacred. The Wrecking Ball Dragon is going to be able to live. Shane now using that Coalescence, now enabling their team to push forward without any fear of death. Dragon just has no more room to continue to stall, and look at that one big fight as we see them take the first point of Busan.
You know, we were looking for a spin to win there at the very end, but unfortunately it doesn't work out when there's a Torb turret that can track your every move. And round one going to go the way eventually of Randolph-Macon. And I mean, they made him work for it there. Shenandoah showing signs of life in the end and was a very impressive hold. And with as much contesting as they were doing, I'm almost shocked that there was a flip in there at any point as well.
I was more interested too. I felt like the respawns and just the fact that the Wrecking Ball composition thrives off those types of fights. It can set up, although that was the issue. They didn't set up. Now going into downtown, they at least have more room and adaptions to be able to play against this, but I want to see more coming out of their engagements.
I do too, and we're seeing Void once again go back to the Tracer, something that he tried on Eichenwald, although it did not work out quite as well for him there. Wasn't able to get past Kree's Torbjorn. And now it looks like, okay, we're not seeing the same thing. I thought he might be going back to change, but just going to give the Mercy a little bit of a boost there so that they can fly out. Though Kree going to find Mercy immediately, so the Tracer Express seems to have been in vain, and they're going to fall to Dr. Water. And Poppy will find Screech as well. It's, again, a very messy fight, something we've seen a lot so far in this series. But things so far going the way of RMC. And they are... yeah, they're able to get that first hold for about 20% so far. I was like, I'm a little worried about Heal's bad, man. That Lucio's staying pretty low. I was expecting him to go down, but he's managed to stay up. However, the rest of his team, not so lucky. Shine will get dove in upon by an Echo. First time we've seen an Echo today. That's pretty exciting. Void now finds Angry Screech. Dr. Water retaliates on Nefania. And, you know, honestly, as long as the Reinhardt is alive, the fight is not over. Both tanks are alive. Quite honestly, it's looking awkward here for Shenandoah. They need to make something happen. I think they were hoping to win this one without the investment of any ultimates. But RMC is more than happy to throw in some ultimates to keep this fight going. 51% on the board for them before the flip eventually does come through. Mines are going to be in play for Dragon in this next fight, along with a duplicate from Echo and the Valkyrie from Mercy. And oh no, I was going to say, I thought we were going to have a Diva Bomb, but they were actually out of mech.
Yeah, now they're trying to bring this back. King Kong able to take out Shane, but look at that Angry Screech able to come back the Molten Core directly onto the point, meaning that they can't do much. The copy does go onto the Soldier 76, meaning that there is a possibility of being able to build up a visor. However, with this point capture returning back not in their favor, they are going to struggle to truly finish it out. Now, if Pop get out, they're going to be able to burst that damage in, and there's nothing you can do. You've already used that sound barrier, so you really can't stop it until your Diva tries to break it, using that fact just to be able to respawn, forcing the enemy team to LOS it, but still, you have no one to finish it off. You do seem to use your Soldier to come back, be able to take out the Mercy, try to take Kong, but they are playing from natural cover, and they're perfectly fine, able to melt you down with the help of their Diva. You're getting this point somehow up to 76%, more impressively than anything, solely from the fact that you are just stalling, and it hasn't been like they've won the fight, it's just that they've stalled it perfectly.
They haven't won the fight, they've lost it slowly, and at the end of the day, that was enough to let their team kind of, you know, the stagger kills weren't quite enough. Their team's able to come back in, stabilize, get the kills. Now 95% on the board. It's looking like a 2-0 here in favor of Macon on Busan.
Yeah, look at that. They need to touch the point. They just barely do with the Reinhardt, but then the Transcendence to move in. However, the Molten Core has caught everyone out. And Void's going to be the first one gone, and nobody really has any sustain or survivability to be able to kind of thrive off of it. So that's where you see them already get picked off. And honestly, you're 100% right. We're going to be seeing that come out as now, once again, it's going to be a 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, that you throw down the Molten Core, it lands on the entire team, and while it didn't get any kills of its own except the McCree, everyone was so low that there was really no chance for the healers to be able to get everyone back up to a point where they could survive that fight, and it was just kind of a roll from there.
Yeah, now we're back in a scenario where once again they may lose it out. We may see Shenandoah not being able to finish this, especially when we go on to Rialto. I think there's it's a weird storyline that's going on right now. The home team that's sort of thriving and popping off seems to be the one always on the back foot after that first map.
Yeah, the teams that we were expecting to win today going into this, just so far we've been wrong. So do not take our advice for betting anytime soon. But now we're gonna go to Rialto, and yeah, this is kind of an interesting one because it seems like it can work for both teams, but it feels like the Torb can really be advantageous here, which feels weird to say about a Torb, but here we are.
You know, I think it's just going to matter to see how they try to run out on it, because I can look all around my room. I can try to find it, but I'm more impressed at the audacity of running this Torb board still. You know, sometimes I like to joke on one tricks, but I've never seen this so consistent. But it's more impressive. Torb still is viable. I think Torb is a very underrated character, and it works, especially in those type of areas where we saw it being able to kind of LOS, get small poke, and the Molten Core, which is an absolutely beautiful ability.
Yeah, now I think the reason we don't see Torb usually at like the Overwatch levels is because those players have like hit scan built, have like, you know, aimbot hit scan just built into them, so they don't need to have a turret that can do it for them. But you know, at not Overwatch League levels, I think it's still definitely a viable choice, and it can certainly just create openings for your team by just putting pressure on it. It's almost like a mini Bob in its own way. It's like a squishy Bob.
Hey, who knows? They're already rushing out. They are going to be missing that May wall, and now they're somewhat split. They lose their Baptiste due to the boop. Their Lucio does get traded out, but look at that. Shenandoah just have nothing that they can do to try to slow this down, especially with the fact that Crescendo basically going to be able to use that kind of Molten Core to boost up, bring their team back, make some quick healing, and really the spawn hold is just not possible.
You say that, but they managed to hold it out. They managed to, you know, stall a little bit of time, and it looked like they were going to win that fight until the spawn started to come back in. It was very messy at the beginning, and it wasn't looking good for them, but that boop kill and then a kill onto the other healer really created some openings for him. And now the Torb is on the point. He's got his turret up, and if nothing else, that'll at least tell him which direction the enemies are coming from if anyone tries to, you know, sneak up behind them. The Void's going to take that out immediately. No turret for you, he says. You got to play an honest game, Torb. And now Torb says, okay, I'm just going to go in there and go aggro on your tank until I can get another turret up.
Already Dragon's gone and that window's invested, meaning if you walk into it, you are going to die immediately. Void does use that visor, forcing them to back up and giving them more room to breathe. That's exactly what you need while you wait for Dragon to return to the fight. However, Angry Screech is going to counter it out with one of their own. And while the sound barrier may be there to kind of sustain you through it, you have lost King Kong already. And now the rest of your team is coming in a very staggered and messy situation to where that immortality has to be used just to allow them to attempt to retreat. And you giving Crescendo Molten Core. The Reinhardt has no shield to be able to stop this, so just barely being able to pop out that shatter, but it gets the peel out from Heel's Badman. You've now lost it as your Reinhardt's gone. You maybe have 1 to 2 more fights to be able to hold this out, especially with this Blizzard being used, but with the Molten Core splitting them off, there's not much that they can do besides try to break that immortality, just barely finding out Crescendo, and the rest of the team being able to push it. It does seem that they are going to have those respawns to be able to come back in, really having that second fight just barely in their pocket, and it's looking very favorable, even if the ultimate economy is no longer in their area, as well as the VAP window kind of going a little too far out. They still have the room to use that visor and space it and take them back to their spawn room.
Yeah, and this has just been a very scrappy map so far. I mean, a lot of kill traits in the early ons, but really it just kind of comes down to whoever can take out the other team's Reinhardt first. They're able to snowball that into a fight win. And it's stalling just meters, centimeters before that first point. I mean, you got to start to feel a little bit good about this if you're Shenandoah. Not necessarily, a full hold, and now actually they're going to re-engage. Although, they're trying to make it happen. Dragonblade finds 2. He goes, fine, I'll do it myself. Goes full on Thanos, finds 3, finds 4 in that fight, maybe? Am I mathing correctly? Probably not.
I think you are, yeah. Also, apologies. I blew my news for a second, and then I realized I was muted.
Oh my God.
Still, though, absolutely phenomenal push. Now they have to worry about Dragon going on to this flank shatter.
Respect me. We do, Dragonblade. We do.
How are you going to go play against this type of charge shatter? This is absolutely going to be nasty if they do not call it out. This could be a full hold here. Look at that, already playing on the high ground. We have to see how it turns out.
Obviously known for his stealth. He drops the shatter. Diva Bomb goes into combo with it. Finds one, finds the immortality field, and that's going to be enough to seal the deal at the very least with this fight. There should be time for a touch, if nothing else, but I don't think they're going to have time to get another solid team fight in here. They're going to need a miracle to make something happen, and with no ultimates in play, it's gonna be a little bit dicey.
Yeah, they're having to just make a quick panic as they move forward already. They are kind of being able to find out Void. That's the benefit there, and with the window being kind of in that availability, the sound barrier is forced out just to be able to move forward. Crescendo using that Molten Core maybe wants to try to stop this full hole scenario, but look at this rotation being able to stop this. The high noon now slowing them down. There's not much you can do besides give your enemy team the ult charge as they're perfectly being able to rotate. Dragonblade not even going down to half health, being able to truly survive. Now Warp No Shield is kind of open up to a shatter, though they're building up first. You need to be able to take them out before it pops out, or you're at a big issue, and yet it seems they've LOS'd them, got it, and they are being able to secure the pushes. Though the window does help to take out Dragon, there is nobody left aside from maybe a Soldier 76 that can help much with the sound barrier there. What did I tell you from last game? Rialto can be a full hold map.
It certainly can, and that was a very close full hold, but it managed to happen. Now things are looking a little bit dicey. This could be a very short Rialto. And I mean, what can you say here that we haven't already said about this map between this game and the last one? You got, how much time is in the bank at the start of this? Like 3.5, 4 minutes?
Around that of a decent estimate.
I don't know why I've never paid attention to that, but 4 minutes. Okay, thank you, producer.
Oh my goodness. I just like to say that they have a time bank, and that's all that matters. The big issue comes is the fact that if you wait for around maybe 6 ultimates, you can definitely win this out. You want to be able to see them try to hold this as well as they can. And maybe that Torbjorn was a big weakness moving on because it wasn't getting much value in the brawl because it wasn't able to live. So, that's where the one trick slightly hurts.
So I searched Rialto Time Bank on Google, and it gave me directions to a Wells Fargo bank in Rialto, California, which is not what I was looking for, admittedly, but good to know. So now we'll find out in 6 seconds anyway, and we're seeing a much more standard composition coming out now. There's no wrecking balls to be seen here, and yeah, okay, our producer was right, 4 minutes, even though he said he was guessing. I'm going to call him out a little bit. Void managed to get a very early kill onto that Torb turret. The Torb turret took him by surprise early on, but they've kind of started to adapt to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, I think there is a bit more of open room for you to be able to play that Torbjorn where it works, but it seems that Dragonblade wants to force their team onto the high ground. Give them that space, give them that room as they have the shield. It's harder for you to play against it because you really have to put all your resources to try shutting it down. Though Ender's peeking up for a tiny bit, they are able to get the boop onto Dragonblade, forcing them into the enemy's backline and eventually being taken out. Though Crescendo is traded, they'll have those respawns to be able to come back. More or less, we are going to see them struggling as the respawns aren't in favor anymore.
They were in Shenandoah is now just being driven back. Void, the only one alive. He peeked for some reason. I know he wanted to get some poke damage and build up some ult charge, but that's a dangerous game to be playing when the entire enemy team is alive, they can just focus fire you like that. It got very, very low there. Now looking to move in here. The Torp turret gets thrown down in the back line, immediately gets taken out by Void. So you kind of see the advantage of a soldier here. You can deal with that Torp from a safe range. However, it hasn't translated to cart movement. Even if they're able to deal with that, they need to deal with the rest of the team too.
Oh, the worrying part was the
window.
fact, yeah, the worrying part was that window basically shut down that entire push as King Kong was trying to use the high noon, was already very low, just barely manages to escape. They have a window of their own and a visor, which can absolutely destroy if the rotation is not found enough. Look at them already popping it out, being able to counterplay, but the window's going to get more room. Sure, the most course placed down onto the point, but they're able to take out the soldier 76. Ward just takes too much damage. Crescendo able to trade out when it comes to Enders, but the big issue is how do you take this back? You only have one fight left, and the entirety of your team is staggered as they did not die instantly.
Oh, they're even more staggered now. Oh, God, the poor Baptiste. I didn't even realize he was still alive. Back here, just stopping the cart from moving. I think that should give the rest of his time a chance to get there, but now you're looking at a 5v6 scenario, and it's a little bit dicey from there. Reinhardt, fall back, you madman. What are you doing? Gonna fall immediately. Okay, Dr. Water, rest in peace. And you know, it was looking real dicey there for Shenandoah for a minute, but they found their footing now, and no one is on the cart. Okay, they remembered what their objective is in this map.
Yeah, they don't have to worry too much. They really just did that solely to get the early stagger pick, force some stagger out more. They have to use that bomb just to push in, and it seems they're able to find out the Baptiste. That's absolutely beautiful. Oh. Plus, with that window, Void trying to escape is just going to die. Now, look, we may see a kind of full hold to the full hold.
Yeah, that was a big turnaround there. Now 1 minute remaining, and it's looking pretty similar to the first half of this map, where, I mean, it's kind of an awkward situation now, but luckily Shenandoah does have some ultimates to work with here, and they'll probably have a Deadeye and a window, assuming that, you know, Cassidy and Baptiste don't die immediately. Okay, the window is here. No ultimates invested just yet. Trying to avoid using them as long as possible if they don't need to. And getting a DMAC and a kill onto the turret, that's pretty big to open this fight up. And now in comes the attack visor, finding two. Baby Diva's doing what they can to deal with them, but nothing's happening. This card is just pushing forward. I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch. The team kill gong rings, and that is redemption for Shenandoah with their A team taking the victory away.
It was
from Randolph-Macon.
It was dangerously close, but all that mattered was the fact that they were able to build up 3 ultimates and use them to great success, while the opposite side struggled to really build them up last second. It was an incredibly close fight, though. I definitely think it could have gone anyone's way. As much as I want to say the Torbjorn was a great addition, I think it was kind of the weak points when it came to that attack. Maybe they could have pushed it farther. Who knows? Either way, Shenandoah, they're not leaving today without a victory. So technically they end 1-1 with the sister team, you know, but, you know, you feel proud, feel proud.
Yeah, the A team's got some bragging rights over the B team today, but, you know, both teams put up a solid showing, as did both of their opponents. Randolph-Macon looking good at a lot of points in this so far, and the Howard Community College Dragons, they did pick up the win after Shenandoah, but obviously some cracks in their armor. They weren't looking perfect in there themselves. But overall, I think we had 2 great matches of Overwatch. I'm sad that we don't have any more. You know, today is... We're over and done with for today, and I bumped my camera, so I'm probably not in frame correctly anymore. But
either way,
it was a good day.
Yeah, I'd say it was an absolutely amazing day when it came to collegiate Overwatch. But more than anything, I do want to give a little reminder or a shout out to anyone who's like kind of listening in, doesn't realize Rocket League is on Wednesday at 7 p.m. and Overwatch will be next week at noon again. So if you're interested to kind of tune in and make sure you stay up to date with everything on that, I want you to be able to hit that little heart. That's the follow button. You hit the bell. That's the notification button. You'll be able to stay up to date with everything that comes from the Mid-Atlantic Esports, as well as you can check down in the kind of summary where there are the Twitter, YouTube schedule, basically everything you want to be able to stay up to date. But either way, I'm username_Intel, and I thank you so much for watching. But don't forget about my beautiful co-caster.